Right, think I'm live. Cool, good. Hello, everyone, or no one, or someone. Welcome back to whatever the hell I'm doing. It has been a very long time since I've done a stream, so I'm not sure if I'm doing anything right. Hopefully, I am. Um, yeah, I'm. Just a heads up. I'm not back. Well, kind of. I'm temporarily back. I thought I was going to be doing two massive trips, one right after the other, but it turns out that no, there is actually going to be a little bit of a gap between them. So I'm getting about good enough. I'm probably going to be going out again next week, and might be gone for a week or two. I'm not entirely sure yet. But yeah, this is a nice little in between thing so that I can save one video for later. Just push it back a little bit, and that's less work for me in the long run. Anyways, it is weird hearing myself talk after how long has it? It's been 2 weeks since I've streamed or recorded anything, so it does feel weird talking to myself in this room. Anyways, we're gonna be making some model stuff, weapons mainly, for various reasons. I've just got my long sword here for basically reference size and all that. And I'm going to be ranting, probably incoherently, about my ordeal that I experienced. On. Anyways, I'll get into it a little bit. First, I'm just gonna kind of get started with this. So, what I'm going to be making first of all is this weird weapon that I saw on a Todd's Workshop video. It's like a sword hammer combination. Like it's a sword hilt like this, but then instead of a blade, it's got like a war hammer. And I thought it was just a really cool looking weapon, so I want to make one. And it is historically accurate. That's one of those things that I kind of want to do in my sort of fantasy stuff. Like I want it to be fantasy, but I also want it to be like historical fantasy. Like this is actually a weapon that someone probably there's actually a lot of manuscripts of it, I think. So it's like it wasn't necessarily even uncommon, and I can't really bring it onto screen to show you guys. But if you just look up Todd's Workshop sword hammer, you'll find it. So, yeah, I'm just gonna get started on this. Probably, probably the easiest way to do this would be to like copy this. That, nope, that did not work. Okay. Don't need a second scabbard. Just gonna call this sword hammer. This pole sword for some reason because it doesn't like having different things named the same thing, which is quite inconvenient for me. Anyways, yeah, I will get on to ranting about my work. Don't you worry. It just may take a moment because I want to wait a little bit, make sure people are here to actually hear me rambling. That's important. So I think it's gonna be a little bit difficult to do because I need to kind of watch through his video, see if I can get a good reference for scale. It's a very long handle, for one. Hmm. Wait, and that was... Okay, so from the hammer to, like, the head of the hammer to, and I can't remember if you can see this or not, so I'm just gonna do that. I don't want all my files being shown. I need a... Where's my Warhammer model? Not here. Okay. That is... I'm gonna have to adjust that. I didn't... Like, this is an older model that I'll need to retexture to and normal map properly. It's actually way bigger than I thought it was. Maybe it's fine. That normal... Hang on, how big is a Warhammer? That feels um, way too big. Come on, give me some measurements. Okay, this is kind of one that I based it off of. It is overall length 25 inches. So just over 2 feet, and this is more than 3 feet. Yeah, that's... I'm gonna need to adjust that. Anyways, though, I'll I'll work with it. But also it's good to have so I can just see how I made the head. Why is that down there? Wait. Why the fuck? Hang on. That's weird. This whole thing is weird. That should be like there. How did I do that? Oh well. Um, so it actually looks like it's a square going this way. I would have thought the other way, but nope. Um, sorry if this is a really awkward start to the stream, but like I said, I've not even kidding. I've kind of forgotten what I'm doing because it's just been so long since I've streamed anything. I think I need to widen this a bit. 3, 4. Let's go a bit more. Shit, that's still right on the could add another... Hang on. I'm going to have to rotate it. It's not quite the way it's designed, but I'm going to need to turn it like that, because that's the only way I can get this to work and not look weird. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure when I'm... Yeah, I could start now, I guess. So I'm going to ramble a little bit about the ordeal that I experienced. That was entirely my own fault, admittedly. Like, this did not need to happen. I volunteered for this, so don't feel too sympathetic for me. Yeah, so with my work, I had to... The reason I think I've explained it, probably, is the reason I had to kind of go away for a little bit is because I was in... I think I've already said where I live. Well, at the very least, the province. I live in British Columbia in Canada. And I, for some reason, volunteered to go to Prince Rupert, which I believe... I might be wrong, I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I think it is the furthest north town in the province. I believe that's true. So pretty far north, like, and by that I mean it took me 4 to 5 hours just to drive up to where I take the ferry to get to this place. So, oh, that is a weird hammerhead. Okay. Yeah, 4 or 5 hours to drive up to Port Hardy, I believe. That's where I had to then take a ferry to then get to the place where I needed to be, which was a 22-hour ferry trip, which was a nightmare because I didn't have a cabin the first when I went up there. I did have a lounge, but okay, I'm not entirely sure about their definition of a lounge because, you know, you'd think, oh, you got a lounge, that sounds fancy. It was... Imagine basically being stuck in a movie theater seat for 22 hours. And I was kind of stuck in it because the thing was, there was nowhere to put my luggage. And, you know, I don't really want to just leave my luggage unattended in this ferry full of strangers and probably some sketchy... There were some sketchy people. So I just kind of had to hang out with my luggage there in essentially a movie theater seat for 22 hours straight. Sleeping was not easy, and when I did eventually get to sleep, it was not a good sleep. That's for sure. It was pretty rough. Seasickness did not help, and I did absolutely get that. Yeah, this is also where I learned that I am not about traveling in the slightest. It is, it's not for me, that's for sure. But yeah, I spent 22 hours on a ferry for one. Not really the open ocean. It was like going down channels and stuff. It was kind of cool actually. It wasn't a terrible experience is the thing. Like it was kind of cool. It was an adventure. It's probably not an adventure I would want to do again. Not for work anyways. But it was kind of cool. Sorry, Han, I'm just trying to find music to play while I'm doing this. Anyways, so yeah, it wasn't... I can't... Hang on. Okay. I see how the little studs on the side are oriented. Anyways, what was I saying? Right, so when I eventually got to the place that I had to go, which was... What? So, Prince Rupert, sorry if I offend anyone who lives there, but if you live there, you know I'm correct when I say it's a Soviet ghetto. The entire, like, the view I had from my hotel room, there was another hotel across the way, and it looked like one of the stratoscrapers from Judge Dredd. It was, like, very brutalist concrete, just chunk, sticking up out of the ground, very unappealing. And yeah, that was my view. I was right downtown. It was kind of it was not it was like I wasn't expecting to get a super fancy hotel, and I wasn't expecting to be in the most far northern port town in BC to be some kind of like fancy luxury looking place. But I wasn't exactly expecting it to look that bad. Like, as an example, the place that I had to rent a car because I didn't have my car either, which really sucked. Because I'll get onto that. I had to rent an SUV, and I hate SUVs now. Um, why does this look so much different than that one? Like, I realize it's slightly different, but it's not. That's fine. God, that is so stupidly big. Why did I make it like that? I'm really gonna have to shrink that down for when I read or remake it for this guy. What was I saying? Something incoherent, probably. And sorry, I'm also still trying to, like, kind of make this from not really any sort of real measurements. I'm just kind of winging it. Anyways, there was a point to what I was saying that I've forgotten. Right, so when I got to the hotel, oh, this is another fun thing about it. When I get to the hotel, there is a boil advisory in effect. So basically, don't drink the water. You will probably get, I don't know, dysentery or something. So, which kind of really irritated me because my brother was suggesting that I bring his fancy filtered water bottle so that, oh, in case you need it for some reason. It's like, I'm not going to need it. It's not like I'm not going out to the fucking wilderness or something. Turns out I am going to a far north port town with undrinkable water, so that was, um, kind of not kind of ironic. Probably not. That's probably not the correct word for it, but just like, oh, for God's sakes, really, he was right about this. Fuck. But yeah, so that was a problem in and of itself. Like I was on the think I was on the 6th floor of this building, and there was no water cooler up there. I had to go down to the lobby every time I wanted water. So, which was often because like I had a big water bottle, but not big enough, and it's especially since I kind of had to ration it. This looks like shit. Why does it look like shit? We go up there. You know, it is a pretty chunky little spike on the back of this thing, so I think that should be fine. Yeah, I had to. I basically did have to ration my water throughout the trip because it's like, oh, I need water to drink, and I need water to brush my teeth with, and that means that I have to keep some of the water in the bottle for the night when I need to brush my teeth, and then also keep more of it in the morning when I need to brush my teeth again. So it was quite troublesome, to say the least. But that was the first two days. I think I was in that town for 2 days, and then I had to leave because one of my jobs. Oh, this is another fun thing about that whole experience. I'm trying to think of what the best way to explain the issue I had next was without sounding too racist. So the problem I had before I even went up there was I, of course, needed to phone them and ask, do you guys have the stuff that I need to do my job up here? It was in a Walmart, just for context. And let me tell you something. That, as far as I could tell, that Walmart was staffed entirely by Indians, like East Indians. And most of them didn't, like, almost every single one that I had direct interactions with had very non existent English comprehension. Like, the first guy I talked to was on the phone. Well, first I got through to customer service through the phone when I was still here, and the woman I talked to barely understood what I was asking. Transferred me to the manager. He was even more clueless about what I was asking. He thought that I was currently like outside the building and it's like, "Oh yeah, you can come in right now." It's like, "No, I'm on the island. I'm not anywhere near you, man." Like so yeah, he trying to get I just eventually gave up on that and then it's like, "All right, you know what? They either have it or they don't. Not my problem. I tried my best." It was no better when I actually got there, though, was the problem. Because I phoned again to ask, hey, I'm here. Is now a good time for me to come in? They had no idea what I was saying. And I think transferred me, and then I just got cut off. So it's like, well, shit, I guess this is either going to work or it's not. God, this looks ugly. Why? Why are you so ugly? I'm just gonna, hang on, let me just remake this, like, exactly. What? Hang on. And yeah, when I got there, I had to go through a couple of different people before I found someone who could actually help me. And then I still wasn't helped because they did not understand what I was here for and started printing off like stickers for me to place of like I think they thought that I was here to like what the hell? Wait. Wait a minute. What is happening here? Oh, hi. Uh, yeah, if you're just joining, oh, that okay, I see, that's that. Yeah, so I'm just talking about my work story. Um, and yeah, so the problem was none of these people really had good English comprehension, so they had no idea what I was asking of them. I don't like that that's the way, whatever, that'll work. Eventually, thank God, there was one manager there. Like I said, all of them East Indian and not very. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this without sounding too racist. There was one guy there who seemed like he understood what I was asking, and thank God for him. Like he was, like it was still an ordeal, but thank God he was there. Otherwise, I would have just been screwed. Um, but yeah, eventually I managed to get the job done, but I didn't get it all done because they didn't have everything I needed, so I still had to come back later. But anyways, that's a different ordeal that happened. That was like my first 2 days there. Um, and then the next day I had to go rent a car. And let me tell you, the pickup time was at 8 o'clock. That far north, it is pitch black at 8 o'clock in the morning. And remember, this is like I am not exaggerating when I say this. It looked like a Soviet ghetto. It looked it like the roads were cracked and like destroyed. Like it looked like a post-apocalyptic wasteland almost. It's also Prince Rupert has a really high crime rate, like one of the high, like it's top 20 in Canada, despite being a town of like 12,000 people. It's so thankfully I don't look anything well, I don't look too much like my avatar here. Like at the moment, because I didn't bring my razor for one, and also I didn't feel like shaving because it's far up north. I kind of wanted to keep some facial insulation. Like I've got long hair, I've got a pretty thick beard, and I am very capable of looking quite pissed off. So thankfully, I looked fairly scary coming out there anyway. So I think that helped me not getting robbed or murdered in the street. Um, but yeah, just a thing. The place that I rented the car from looked just as terrifying, like as the rest of it, because it's like the building was fine. Turns out that giant Soviet housing block was actually where you rent the car from, and and it looked fine inside. But then you go to get the car, and it's like, oh, you have to go down the side of this building, down this alleyway that slopes down into the darkness, where there is this old parking lot that is so cracked and broken apart that that looks like that happened decades ago, and they haven't fixed it, so they've just filled in the cracks with gravel. And at the back of this parking lot, and this whole thing's like in a hole. Like it's like the street next to it is like, 2 stories up or something. And then um and then at the back of this parking lot, there's like a hole of some kind where it looks like a construction project started and then never ended. So there's just a fence, like a metal fence at the back that says, oh, don't come in here, private property or something, and it's just a hole, just a pit into the darkness. I have no idea what was beyond it. It was like, Jesus Christ, that looks like that is not a fun thing to. Listen, it's. I don't know. The best thing I could recommend is go on like Google Images or something or Google Maps, look up Prince Rupert, and you'll understand my plight. Especially downtown Prince Rupert. But anyways, that was just the beginning of my experience, because the place I had to go next was Smithers. Smithers was actually a pretty nice place, all things considered. Like, I'm still trying to figure out how big this stupid hammer is supposed to be. Yeah, let me just watch this video for a second, see if I can... Okay, that actually helps. That, it looks like the... So it looks like this part of the hammer is about the height of the guy's chest. So I'm gonna say, like... Where's my longsword? Why is that there? You need to... I don't need the scabbard. I don't know why I even have it. Whoops. Here we go. What? Hang on. Okay, whatever. I'm really losing my train of thought a lot here. Anyways, yeah, Smithers. So, Smithers is a nice town-ish, kind of. It's 90% parking lot. Like, even the streets, every single street is just covered with cars. And all the parking lots are also filled with cars. And there's not really any roads. Oh god, I didn't even get to that part yet. Okay, hang on. Before we get to Smithers, I have to back up to the previous day, when I was getting on the ferry. So the problem was, I don't travel, if that wasn't already very apparent. I don't like traveling, as it turns out, either. It's something that I would prefer to not do as often as humanly possible. But the thing... So basically, when I got to the ferry terminal, there were no instructions. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, first of all, I wasn't bringing my car, so I figured, okay, I'll just park my car in the parking lot, and then once it's there, I can, you know, what am I getting at here? I can park my car, and then I can pay for the parking for like 8 days, and then go find someone who can help me. Get to the parking lot, there's no, you see the little sign that says, oh, paid parking here. It's like, yeah, I'm aware that it's paid parking. That is not a problem at all. Where do I pay? Usually when you say paid parking, there's like a little, you know, there's a little sign on the wall that directly, or on a post that directly below it is a little terminal where you punch in your car number, your put in your credit card, and then it gives you a little receipt. That didn't exist. There was literally nothing to show me where I actually pay for my parking, which I kind of needed. So I'm just sitting there in the parking lot, looking at 2 lanes. One of them is for pickup and drop off, one of them is for drive-ons. Neither one has a sign, so if I hadn't like looked at this before leaving, I would have never known which one was which. But it didn't really help anything, because it's like, okay, but neither one of these is the drive up and get a parking pass lane. So I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So it's just like, okay, I'm just watching more, and I was thinking, like, okay, maybe I could just walk out of my car and walk up to them. But I don't want to do that because it kind of looks like I'm cutting in line in front of the people who came before me. So I'll just wait for this group to pass and then do that. And then more cars started coming. And then even more cars started coming. And then it just kept escalating. And it's like, okay, there's just infinite cars coming now. The longer I wait, the more people show up. I need to get in line is the thing. I need to get into the driving line and just hope to God that I picked the right one. Get in line. I tell them who I am. I say I have a reservation. And they say, okay, oh, we're not seeing a reservation here for a drive on. I say, no, I don't, I'm not driving on. It's a walk on thing. I'm not taking my car. I just didn't know, what the hell I'm supposed to do. It's like, oh, okay, well, what you're going to want to do is drive over and park there in the pickup zone. Just park there, go to the building, and then they'll give you the ticket. Like, okay. Drove through, did that. I wasn't sure which building to go to because there was like 3 different buildings. So I asked someone, hey, where do I get this thing? And they said, oh, you're a walk-on? I was like, yeah. So you're leaving your car here? It's like, yes. Okay, well, you probably don't want to leave it here. You need to leave it back there. It's like, yeah, no shit. That's where I just was, but I was told to park it here for some reason. So we had to walk all the way back. No, I had to drive all the way back, meet up with this guy again who was very, very helpful. And he helped me with this little issue. He got me through it. Thank God for his existence. But yeah, that was the whole, like, I was actually like yelling in my car profanities because I was just so angry at the fact that it's like, unless you're a frequent traveler and you just know these things, there is no way that you'd ever be able to figure out where you were supposed to go or what you were supposed to do because there is no signage. It's like, yeah, you're just supposed to figure it out, I guess. And that just pissed me off to no end. So terrible start. But anyways, that was like when everything began. So now we are going to, in this very confusing story, flip back to Prince Rupert and the drive to Smithers. Smithers is 4 hours away driving. So I had to drive for 4 hours straight to get there in a car that I was not very familiar with. And by not very familiar with, I mean I have never driven an SUV in my life and would like to never do it again because I just don't like it. It was the fattest, like it driving it felt like steering a obese cow. It was not fun. It was like, because I normally have a very small car, so this was quite a divergence from what I'm used to, and not in a fun way in the slightest. The GPS was manageable, but not what I was used to because I've got my own GPS that I prefer. And yeah, it was a little rough. Okay, the other thing, I hated it because I wish it was a self-driving car. Not because I didn't want to drive, but because it might as well have been. It had the the windshield wipers. Okay. Um no, I liked it better like that. The windshield wipers turned on, were already on when I got in the car, and they adjust their speed automatically with how hard it's raining. So basically, I didn't need to turn the windshield wipers up at all during this whole journey because it just automatically sped up when it was raining harder, and it was always raining harder, which was interesting. The headlights automatically adjusted depending on how dark it was outside, so I didn't have to do that either. And there was a few other things in there. I can't remember what they were at the moment, but there was just so many things like that that it's like, okay, can this car just drive itself? Like, you clearly don't want me driving because you're not. You're basically doing everything for me. Like, why am I here? Essentially, this is almost a self. Like, I'm not allowed to do any of the things in the car because it's just doing them for me. So why am I present at all? That kind of irritated me. Um, Oh, and the steering was so weird. I'm assuming it was like full power steering because there was no feedback. Like the wheel turned so smoothly that it felt like I was turning nothing. So I had, like I said, I had no feedback as to something actually happening. It just felt weird. Same with oh, right, the other things. The reverse camera, I don't like it because it gives you a little warning of like, oh, pay attention. And all it's like, yes, yes, I know. Let me just back up. If someone walks behind you, first of all, you can see them easily on the camera. Secondly, you can see them easily just by looking behind you. But if they're coming from the right mirror has a little light on it that starts flashing, and then things start beeping in the car. And then when they pass by, the left mirror starts flashing and beeping. So there's just things beeping and flashing constantly all over the place. And it's like, can I just fucking drive? Can this whole car just shut up for 5 seconds? I cannot think with all this crap going on. That was hellish. But then when I was actually driving down the highway, it was perfectly fine. I didn't really have any problems. It was not fun trying to park this fat, like, giant like this was a 3-row car, like driver's seat, and then there was a row of seats behind me, and then another row of seats behind me, and then the trunk. There's like, why did my boss get me the like, why did she rent me the biggest fucking car on the planet? I realize it's snowy up there, and maybe it's just a thing of like, oh, it would be safer for you to have a big vehicle. It's like, yeah, sure, I get that. Why is this car so goddamn massive, though? Also, hi, Toasty. Um, so that was kind of a nightmare that I did not appreciate. Um, oh, and when you get to Smithers, turns out, here's the thing: all of the parking lots are made of ice. I'm not saying they're icy, like they are entirely covered with ice. It was awful. Um, Also, I had a really hilariously stupid experience where I get to my hotel, um, I park. Well, first of all, the roads are so weird there, but I try to figure out how to park there and find a place. Get out, the entire parking lot's made of ice. Um, so just walking to the trunk is an ordeal, and I've got like a camera bag, a side bag, sort of like I don't know what you'd call it. I know there's a word for it, but I can't think of what it is. It's like a pretty large, like over the shoulder bag type thing. Not a duffel bag, but smaller than that. And I got a rolling, like, suitcase sort of thing. So I had to try to get all three of those. Oh, and a massive water bottle. I had to get all three of these out of the trunk at night. It was like I think it was around 3 or 4 o'clock there, and it was like pitch black. So I'm like walking on a pure ice uh parking lot, trying not to fall and die, trying to take these big heavy things out of the trunk and strap them all over me without dying. Close the trunk without dying and then lock it up, and then shuffle across the ice, and then I see, wait, this is parking only for guests of this hotel. But the hotel it says the parking lot is for is not my hotel. So I'm in the wrong parking lot. And I was thinking, like, this seems weird. Why is the parking lot behind this hotel? Because it was the wrong parking lot. So I had to put everything back and then shuffle back into the driver's seat again while trying not to die on the pure ice, um, whatever you call it, parking lot, uh, which was it like actually kind of terrifying. Like it was so icy. Like I'm not even kidding. But eventually got in and it was fine. And I just remembered what the other thing I hated about the SUV was. It was a push button start. You don't insert the keys. There isn't even a physical key. It's just a fob that you carry in your pocket. And if you get the near the car, it automatically unlocks, which seems like a safety threat, but whatever. But yeah, the push button start thing is fine, but when you turn it off, it doesn't look like it's off because the display is all digital and it stays on. Like it changes, but it stays on. The headlights are still on. Everything, like, you press the off button and there's a little thing next to it that says off, but nothing looks off. So I just have to awkwardly leave the car and then stand there just staring at the car for like a solid minute, waiting to see if it was going to turn off because I could not tell if it was actually off or not. Eventually it did. So thank God for that. But yeah, that was a nightmare to deal with. And then I was only in town for like one night, and then I had to drive back. And a funny thing I noticed was Smithers was actually a nice place. Like I went there and had to walk around a lot because I went to get supper, had to find a parking space, which was a nightmare. Parked in the wrong place a couple times because it was like, customer parking only. You will be towed if you're not a customer and all that shit. So that was aggravating. Eventually found a place that worked and then started walking around. It was pitch black again. And okay, this is gonna be, maybe this is just me being autistic. But have you ever planned on going somewhere to eat and then you get to the restaurant and you look in through the windows, and despite you thinking, hey, I want to eat there, that sounds like food I would like, you just look into the restaurant and think, no, no, the vibe doesn't work, I'm leaving. Like, I'm not even gonna go in, I'm just gonna walk right past it. Like, it's just, for some reason, it's like I just don't like it. Something feels off about it. It's not like in a sketchy way. It's just like I don't want to eat there. And then I just walk past awkwardly and then kind of think to myself as I'm walking, it's like, what do I do now? There's there's not really many other options because half the places were already closed. And the ones that weren't were like I also didn't vibe with. So I was kind of just walking back and forth through the town, hoping to find a restaurant that I liked the vibe of and could go in. And I was doing that for like at least half an hour for sure. Yeah, it was definitely about a half an hour. Hang on. Eventually found a place. It was pretty good. And then I had a bit of a weird moment when I was coming home, well, coming back to the hotel rather, where I was starting to think I might have some issues because I was yelling at my car. Because I just decided, okay, I don't remember what the address for my hotel is. I'll just put in the name of the hotel. That should be sufficient, right? That can't possibly be a problem. My car does not take me to the hotel. It takes me to a different one. And it's like, that's not what I said. I said this hotel. I tried it again, took me right back to the wrong place. I was aggressively yelling at my car, calling it all kinds of very unsavory names. And then and then when I eventually did get to, I just put in the address finally after looking it up because I wanted to avoid that, but then the car wouldn't allow me to avoid it. So eventually I did just input it, and then I was able to go. The problem that occurred after that was that the the car had a little robot voice that said, I'm just reading Toasty's comment here. Place, if it won't fit in a place or it irks me, I just turn away. The food might be good, but I'm going to eat somewhere with that constant feeling in my mind. I have not seen that statue. Send it to me in Discord. That sounds awesome. Whatever it is. Anyways, what was my point? Right, after yelling really, really aggressively at the car, it had a little robot voice saying you will arrive in this amount of time. And just because of the way the voice, strung together sounds, like, just an audio, it wasn't like modern AI voice technology. It was just like, like Microsoft Steve or whatever, like something like that. Uh, just because of the weird way that it sounded, it almost sounded like the robot was trying not to cry. So then I just spent like the entire like next 5 to 10 minutes driving home, apologizing to the car for for yelling at it because it just made me feel bad, which was very weird. And I'm fully aware of this. Like, I was in the car thinking to myself, this is a weird thing. Like, this is just, why am I apologizing to an inanimate object? It doesn't matter. I still feel bad for yelling at it and calling it very mean names. And then eventually got home and slept, and that was kind of that. That is a very interesting statue. Spragus. Hang on, can I find more of this? Is this like, is that the name of the statue, or is that like a practice of doing something? I am not finding any information on this that helps. Cool. Anyways, that's irrelevant to my weird rant. So yeah, the next day drove home. Interesting. What was the thing? Next day drove home, and this was a kind of a funny thing that I noticed. When you're driving home or driving back to Prince Rupert, Smithers is a fairly nice town up in the mountains. The closer you get to the coast, the worse it gets. Like, it was just a clear, sunny day. It was lovely. And then the further along you get from Smithers and the closer you get to Prince Rupert, like, the darker it got, the more cloudy, the more foggy, the more rainy, the more dead trees there were, the less snow. Like, it just, like, it looked like the environment, it looked like you're switching biomes in a video game. Like, you've entered the evil biome now from the nice lovely mountain biome. It was really bizarre and kind of like, okay, wow, this town seems kind of cursed. That's probably fine. Yeah, eventually got there, and there's not really much else to talk about there because when I got there, I just slept. When I got home, oh no, I forgot about the other thing. I was going back to the exact same hotel that I was in before, same room even, which was kind of weird. Interesting. I'm gonna keep that in mind, Toasty. That might be useful for things in the future. What was I? Fuck, I'm losing my train of thought constantly. Yeah, another thing that's funny about that hotel was I bought some popcorn previously because, might want to have some. The microwave died multiple times trying to make popcorn. Like it flipped a breaker in the uh what's it called? Power bar that was powering it. So that was annoying. Now, let me just try something. Does that look that looks too girthy now. No, that doesn't work for me. I like this way better. Um so that was kind of aggravating. Oh, I haven't talked about the tea. That's right, the tea ordeal. So I had brought some tea bags because I thought, I'd like to make myself some tea. That's the thing I enjoy. Might as well bring the necessary components to do it. I was expecting there to be a kettle in the room. There was a coffee maker, which is not what I need for tea, obviously. So this was the first day I was there, by the way. I keep bouncing back in time, but don't worry about that. It's not relevant. Um, so basically what I did, as I got a mug, I poured in water from one of their water bottles that they gave me because you'll recall that the water was contaminated. Um, I hate bottled water. It tastes sweet, and I don't like it. Water should not be sweet. Um, so I poured that into the mug and microwaved it for like 2 minutes. Only got a minute and a half because the microwave flipped a breaker again. I realized you need, and I've determined, yeah, water needs to be heated up a lot longer than 2 minutes to be tea levels of hot. That is a good point, Toasty. You are not wrong, but I did not think of that. So I just heated it up in the microwave and dropped the tea bag into it after the fact because I wasn't sure. It's like, is there something wrong with boiling or microwaving a tea bag? I don't know, but I'm not going to find out here. So drop the tea bag in, use one of the little coffee stirrers to mash it down into the bottom to squeeze out the tea. Got really foamy. I've never seen tea get foamy before. That kind of threw me for a loop. Tried drinking it. It was lukewarm and barely had any flavor to it. Uh, so I said, all right, I'll add one of these little sugar packets they give you. Didn't really help. So I decided, okay, there's no milk. I like having whole milk for my tea. There is coffee creamer though, so I'll try that. It became a really weird color when I poured it in. Did not taste much better, but I just kind of had to deal with it. So that was my tea adventure. That was an experience. Oh, and also in like the 8 days that I was actually, hang on, I left on Thursday morning, and then got back the following Saturday. So it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then finally got home on Saturday. So in Jesus Christ, was that 10 days? Fuck. Okay. So in 10 days, I think I had a total of 5 proper meals. That was, I think I got fish and chips at a little pub at one point. That was like my first meal, and it was fantastic. Um, I got a few burgers. I got like Tim Hortons soup and sandwiches. But that was still 5 meals, 5 proper meals over the course of 10 days. I was basically surviving off of, is it Lipton? Who? Hang on. Oh shit, what did I just close? Okay, that's fine. Is it Lipton? No. Nestle? No, it wouldn't be Nestle. Who does that one? Uh, Pure Leaf. It's Pure Leaf is what I had. So I was basically surviving entirely off of beef jerky and Pure Leaf iced tea for most of that time. So I would, and also remember again the the hotel that I stayed at for like 3 to 4 days of that time did not have usable water unless you got to the water cooler. So yeah, I was probably very dehydrated, malnourished that whole time. It was an experience. Oh, and the 22-hour ferry ride back was, it was perfectly fine. I got a cabin that time, so I just slept for like 12 hours. Oh, and that was the best part. The beds, like unironically, the cabin on the ferry was the best hotel room of the bunch. The first one I stayed at that was still on the island, I hated it. Like the room was fantastic, but the bed was way too soft. I sleep on a futon, so I felt like I was gonna drown in the bed. I actually took like just the sheet off, put it on the floor, took the comforter and put it on top, and I slept like it was a carpeted floor, but I slept on the floor for the first 2 nights of the trip because the bed was too comfy. Second place, the bed was sufficiently shit. It was kind of crappy. This was the one in Prince Rupert. It was hard, not as hard as I like, but it was sufficient, which was good because I did not trust sitting on the floor or sleeping on the floor. The floor looked disgusting. Um, what was my point? Yeah, and then the third one was even better. It had an even crappier bed, so that was fantastic. But the ones on the ship on the way back were so solid. Like they were, it wasn't comparable to a futon, but it was as close as I'd gotten. I was so elated when I laid down in the bed. It's like, it's rock hard. It's absolute shit. This is perfect. This is exactly what I've always wanted. Yeah, yeah, actually, that's the thing. When I got home, getting in my futon, it's like, okay, I've slept in beds for the past like 5 nights, I think. Yeah, after sleeping in beds for 5 nights that were, relatively comfy, I just lay down on my kind of flattened out futon on the floor, and it's like, oh, this is perfect. I like sleeping on the floor was the best. I loved it. But yeah, that whole trip was just an ordeal. You know what? Now that I look at what I have made here, I think I will shrink down the hammer head on this, but otherwise keep it pretty much the same. And I kind of like the length of this. And let me just see what it looks like in his hand. Like, oh yeah, that's like the perfect size of what it should be. Okay, that is fantastic. I'm gonna call that hammer done. I'll texture it maybe a bit later because I have been doing this for an hour already. Jesus. I did not realize I'd been doing this for an hour. So I've been doing this for an hour, so I'll texture it a bit later. I don't want to do normal mapping and all that because that's not really the most exciting thing to show. So let's make another weapon. What should I make? Sword or something else? I've already got several weapons made. I just need to like hmm. Shield is a little difficult, but I might be able to do that. Yeah, as you can see, this from the normal mapping on here, this has smaller pixels than this, so I will like I've made a whole bunch of weapons, but I will need to retexture them to have a smaller size and also normal map, but that's a thing for later. Actually, how about not quite a shield? But I have kind of wanted to, for a little while now, I've wanted to make a buckler. So let's do that. Hmm. All right. Yeah, so that was generally the extent of my adventure. And it hasn't ended there, really. Like, I still have to go to Victoria at some point. I haven't exactly determined when that's going to be. My boss hasn't told me when that's going to be. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I've got yeah, is this a good that actually does look like a good size. Nice. Yeah, yeah, that's one of those things I do kind of wonder about, like if I get a girlfriend at some point here, is like, all right, how do I explain to her um that futons are the ideal sleeping surface and that everything else is sinful and will destroy your. Okay, this is also a thing. It is actually really good for your spine to sleep on the floor. Like, actually, that is part of the reason why I couldn't sleep in the bed. It wasn't just like I felt like I was gonna suffocate in it. It's because I laid down to go to sleep, and it's like I can feel my spine bending in improper ways. Like this is like it's actually uncomfortable, and I hate it. What am I doing? What? Damn. I just kind of zoned out for a sec. What am I doing? This is. I don't think this is the correct way to make a sphere. I think those are. Maybe it's fine. Wait, I'm doing this completely wrong. You need to be in this mode so that doesn't fuck things up. No, I did it wrong. I can see that. I can see the improperness of the circle. That should be good for a buckler. But okay, that's is that fine? It doesn't feel fine. I think these need to go the other way. Well, that's fine. You can never. There was a time when I was like, I can't remember what I was. I had an eyelash in my eye, and it's like I want to kill everything. I cannot like. I was almost like inverting my eyelid to try to get it out. And then it didn't stop being uncomfortable when I finally did, like an hour later. And then I kind of realized from the feeling, it's like, oh, I had two eyelashes in my eye. Shit, I've only got one. So yeah, that I'm not gonna There wasn't much more to that story. That was about it. But it's like, oh god damn it, I want to kill everything. Oh, that is way too big for a buckler. That it needs to be like that or something. Yeah, it kind of does. I mean, it will, I suppose. Let's just add a few more things. Yeah, needless to say, the whole moral of the story is don't volunteer for things. You will regret it. I don't know why I volunteered to go up there. It just seemed like it would be kind of neat. Like, oh, this will be an adventure. Oh, I don't know what a Gundabad Orc shield looks like. Let's see. Oh, yeah, one of those. Yeah, so I'm not gonna make that because no thank you. You know, that's a thing watching the movies. I didn't originally notice. Um but I also find really cool is like all of the orc, I don't think you'd really call them clans, but like how like the Moria orcs and the that looks way too big for. No, actually I suppose that is good. Um like the ones from Mordor, the ones from Isengard and all that. It's like they've all got completely different armor and helmets and shields. Like they've sort of like each orc group has its own separate. You can't really call it a culture because that's sort of not what Tolkien was getting at with them. I'm actually reading The Hobbit at the moment. It's actually a really fun book. Like I only had it read to me once, like probably about 18 years ago now, maybe 20. So I didn't really remember much of it, but it's a very fun book and also just interesting. Um yeah, and I like the description of the goblins in that, how they're like I'm trying to think of what the way like kind of the way he describes them is like what was it? So like the orcs don't really have a culture, so to speak. Like they're kind of they're anti-culture. They're just the barbarians. But it's like I don't know. It's very interesting. I think if you I think Tolkien has written about it of just like the difficulty of writing the orcs of like how do you write a culture that is entirely destructive? Like how can they exist? It's I mean, and he's kind of had a thing in it of like how the goblins are. I mean, like I said, I just like the idea like they can't create anything beautiful. They can't create anything that looks nice or aesthetically pleasing. They can create functional things. And that's kind of like all they can do. It's like we know how to dig holes. They like things with wheels and gears and spinny bits and like it is interesting. I was just kind of like they're very mechanically gifted, but they're not aesthetically inclined. They only know how to make things that destroy and break things and weapons to better do that. It's an interesting culture or an interesting concept. Which is kind of one of the things I remember people um, were making an issue of, if you'll recall, that bizarre choice they decided to do with Dungeons and Dragons, where they decided that the orcs are Mexicans, which I would think that would be kind of racist, but apparently that's totally fine to do. Apparently, but yeah, it's. I think I talked about this before. If the orcs, if you wanted them to be anti-culture, like anti-civilization. Oh, hang on. Orcs were made as a mockery of elves, so their armor and architecture are, and anything creative is made to mimic and mock everything else. Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's just elves can make stuff that are beautiful and incredible. Orcs can only make things that are ugly and awful. It's like they're an exact inversion of the elves. Um, what was my point? Yeah, my thoughts are that if you want orcs to be a anti-civilizational race or culture, they need to be horse archers because there is nothing that is a bigger threat to civilization than horse archers. They are a nightmare. Like the Mongols, the Plains Indians, they were. It's just like, oh my god, they are just the worst thing to deal with if you're a civilization. I think they actually had a name for I can't remember who it was that was talking about this, but it's interesting hearing like, people talking about the stuff that is not really you're not supposed to talk about, but like, they're not playing it up saying, "Oh, look how wonderful this was" and all that. It's like, no, remember the thing that is always true, history sucks, everything was awful. Um but also good too. But yeah, like don't really romanticize some of these things. It's like I don't know. I'm not. That's not my point that I'm getting at. The point was, I think they called the coastal Indians potato Indians because I'm assuming because it's like, well, they're on in the along the coast. They're farmers. Like they plant crops. They are sedentary, and they're more or less kind of chill. They're not that big of a deal for the European settlers. The Plains Indians, though, were just like psychotic. Like if there's, they were, oh yeah, warg riders, but yeah, a lot of them carry bows and yeah, like, but yeah, the thing with the Plains Indians was they were like literally psychotic. Like their culture was a little bit deranged in the thing. Like how the Japanese have the thing of if you're dishonorable, you should off yourself, and that's kind of your way of atoning for your dishonorable bullshit that you did. And it's kind of considered a thing of like, basically do what's right, make up for the bad thing you did, and do that. And I think they usually had, the second guy there with the sword to chop your head off of like, all right, you have disemboweled yourself, you have proven your worth, now here's the guy to end you quickly and mercifully. The Plains Indians had something similar, except they thought that if you surrendered, you were a coward. and that being a coward would pollute your soul. So, in order to rectify that, they basically tortured you to death by, I think, like cooking you over a fire. And the reason it's psychotic is not just because of that, but it's because they would torture you to death, but they would see it as doing you a favor because by suffering, they are cleansing your soul of the cowardice that polluted it. So they will kill you in the most horrible way possible, but do it for your own benefit. So yeah, it's not a good time to don't surrender to the Plains Indians if you travel back in time to that period. It will not go well for you. And yeah, like I said, this is I don't think the Mongols had something similar, but the Mongols in general were just a nightmare. So it's like, it's not, I'm not even saying like, oh, this is a thing of the savage Indians. It's like, no, it's something about horse archer culture. Being horse archers makes you a little bit deranged if that is your entire civilization. So yeah, like unironically, don't fuck with the horse archers. It will be a bad time for everyone involved. But that's why I think it should be the orcs should be horse archers or some kind of riding archers because that fits perfectly with them. They're the savages out in like the wastelands that just come from nowhere, destroy civilizations and then disappear back over the mountains and you don't even know who the hell those guys were. It's like it fits them perfectly. So yeah, make something with horse archer orcs is what I'm saying. Anyways, bucklers. I went off on a real tangent there, didn't I? But that's kind of just what I do. Hmm. Troll riders would not be particularly fast, but I could see the functionality of it. Like living siege towers. That would be pretty neat. Okay, side thing. I'm googling pictures of bucklers, and I hate it. I blame Goblin Slayer for this to some extent. There's several different pictures here of like fantasy designs with a buckler mounted to the wrist, and that is not how a fucking buckler works. Goblin Slayer, like I said, that whole thing where it specifically says I have a buckler because it's a small shield that I can easily maneuver and it keeps my hand free. It's like that's not a buckler though. Bucklers are held in the hand specifically. They don't have any strapping, just a handle for you to maneuver them very easily and deflect blows. So bucklers should not be on the wrist. They're in the hand only. That irks me to an extreme degree because it I don't there's that's one of those things I really hate when something is misconstrued in a way that it's like, oh, now this thing is completely like the definition of what people think this thing is now completely wrong because one thing decided they were going to use it and they didn't understand what they were describing and they made it incorrectly. So it's like, oh, now people just don't know what bucklers are. Because something in popular culture ruined it for everyone with their lack of insight. Anyways, that little rant went had no real I didn't really have a point with that one. That was just something that makes me angry, is people misunderstanding words and then using them incorrectly. And then, because, like I said, because it's in popular culture, it kind of catches on, and now everyone's just using it wrong. Oh yeah, Grond. Grond, that was the wolf head, right? The battering ram they used to break into Minas Tirith. Yeah, okay. Nope, nope, not that. Just this. Uh, there. Hmm. I haven't seen that, and I'm not really too keen on it, because there's some things about it that I find bothersome. I mean, the first one that I totally agree with, that's the one with Hera, right? Who isn't even a character that they just made up because they needed female lead for no particular reason. Um, yeah, so kind of my main thing about that bugs me, that someone else pointed out, like this wasn't my realization, but it's just the thing that Tolkien, who based the Rohirrim on the Anglo-Saxons, would not name a character Hera. It's like a that's a Greek name. Why would the Anglo-Saxon analogs name someone after a Greek goddess? That, like, she should have been named Freya or something, which, would have been much more acceptable, because that's, I think the Anglo-Saxons were kind of had the same gods as the Norse, or were at least close enough. But yeah, actually, I don't know. I'm not going to get too into the whole thing with that, because I don't really care that much. I'm kind of, I don't know. I haven't really watched anything modern lately, like at all. I'm kind of, I'm trying to think what the last show I watched was. I've been watching the, right. I think this is another thing I've talked about before. But one of those things I love is how the pagans kind of thought that the Christians were a little bit insane. Like, sure, they enslaved them constantly and all that, but like, they kind of looked at the Christian religion, and it's just like, I'm trying to remember. So there's two movies that I can think of off the top of my head that mention it, and that was Valhalla Rising. Was it Valhalla Rising? Yes, Valhalla Rising and the Norsemen, where they described them as, people who worship a corpse nailed to a tree whose blood they drink and flesh they eat. It's like, holy shit, you're making the Christians sound fucking awesome. Like, that makes them sound like the most hardcore religion out there. And then if you look at the relics, like, they just have gold encrusted, glass encased skulls and severed limbs and stuff. It's like, Man, Christianity is metal as fuck. Yeah, like it's like kind of an incomprehensible thing to the other people. Also, that's one of those things I really loved about it. There's actually okay. Here's me more ranting about the modern world and why I hate writing of it in it is because everyone tries to write history like it's always been the way it is now, where everything's kind of like, oh, we're all understanding of each other and we like we're tolerant of each other's civilizations and we understand that we have cultural differences and all that. I hate it. It's like, no, everyone, like, the Norseman is great for that, of how in the Viking raid of the village, after they, but anyways, in what is it called? The Norseman, how after the village raid, after the Vikings who just went in the night before into their berserker psychic frenzy sort of thing and just massacred an entire village, and then it will proceed to burn the non-useful people who they couldn't who aren't useful as slaves, just burn them alive. They say, oh yeah, these savages, they look at these savages, they'll make great slaves for us. It's like, you guys just kind of, like I said, went into a psychic frenzy and exterminated a village, and you're calling them savages. And another good one for that is Shogun. How the Japanese in Shogun are always calling the British there or the Westerners savage. No, I think they call them barbarians. And then the Europeans are calling the Japanese savages. It's like, it's just kind of funny how like from literally everyone's perspective, the other person is the uncultured barbarian, and that's much more interesting than just, oh, we all can get along, we're all friendly and we all understand each other. It's like, nah, you're a barbarian. It's like, really, we think you're the barbarian, and it's much more interesting that way and much more realistic because like up until this, like the past 15 to 20 years, that was basically the way the whole world worked. Like everyone thought, no, we're the correct people, we're the best, everyone else is wrong and backwards. And now it's like, oh no, we can't possibly think that. Okay, the Romans were right about the Germans, though. The Germans were insane. There was there was one story I remember someone describing where some Romans soldiers were at like a pond or something, just like getting their horses to drink, and some Germans just came upon them. And the first thing the Germans did was run up, stab their horses, and like just kill their horses. And the Romans fell off them, of course. And then they started killing the Romans. But that was just, I think like the Romans kind of just didn't really do anything because they were just so confused. It's like, wait, did they just kill the horses? Horses are extremely valuable. Like, they're expensive to raise, they're a sign of prestige, they're very valuable resources for carrying soldiers and supplies and equipment. And they just killed the horses. Like, we almost can't comprehend the minds, like, the logic of doing that because it's just so out of the norm for what they would have expected someone to do. So it's like, what the hell was that? They just wiped out the horses and then killed us all afterwards. Like, that's not how we do things. That's not how anyone does things. What the hell is with these people? And yeah, they were just kind of flabbergasted by them. And it's like, oh yeah, we kind of lost entirely in this little conflict because we were just like completely stunned by the just bizarre things that they were doing that they could not comprehend. And yeah, I think the Germans were like a major threat to. Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, regardless to destroy their ability to retreat and also bringing them down to their level where they could fight them easier, it's still just the thing of like, you don't kill the horses. That's a valuable resource that you capture after the battlefield. Like, that is spoils of war basically. And they just they went for the horses first. Like, that is unheard of in our concept of battle. Um yeah, I also remember something about how, when Roman cities and stuff were sacked by barbarians, it was sort of like, hey, listen, we may have been overrun and our cities burned and population wiped out and you know, all of our supplies stolen by the Gauls. But thank God it wasn't the Germans, right? Like, it was like, even when barbarians destroy your city, at least they were the non-insane barbarians. They weren't the Germans. Also, I think the Germans kind of did a thing where they would do like a yearly extermination of every other tribe in their territory. Like, once a year, if it's like, oh, some people have moved into our territory, wipe out everything that isn't us. All right, and now we're good. And then the next year they just did it again. If you move into German territory, that's a yearly extermination. It was just like, I think those were those the Visigoths? I can't remember which tribe. Hang on, let me look up where they were. Um, is a decent map? I can't really tell. That is not helpful in the slightest. I think it was the Visigoths. Or maybe it was just the normal Goths. I can't. I think it was no, the Vandals. It was the Vandals. The Vandals were the ones that they were just like, God, these people are absolutely insane, and we do not want to deal with them. That's why they spent so much time and effort making sure that they never crossed the Rhine. Because if they did, it's like, oh God, we're screwed. I can't say this for certain because I've never seen or read Game of Thrones, and I know next to nothing about it, but I imagine the White Walkers are kind of based on the Vandals. Like, they're just the enemy beyond the wall. They're the thing out in the wilderness that will just ruin your entire existence just on principle of we want to and we can. Okay, so I think the buckler is basically done. It's not much, but there's not much to bucklers. So that's neat. Um, I need to find out if there's a way to export specific models from Blender. Because it would be much more like memory efficient on my computer if I could have like all of the weapons in a single file and then just export them one at a time as an OBJ or whatever. I guess I do need to rig this though. Hang on. Actually, you know a weird thing? Was that the Carpathians? I think they're. I'm the only reason I'm asking that is because I remember in Dracula, like the book, Dracula is of course descended from the people of the Carpathian region, and is saying how his ancestors were the ones who like lived up in the mountains and threw stones down at the Romans and fought them off from their territory. Battle at Heraclea. Hmm. Oh, of course it was Pyrrhus. Oh, the elephants, right. Okay, I thought you meant they were shoving boulders down the mountains at them. Okay, that's my mistake. Yeah, yeah, fucking Hannibal. He he really fucked shit up. And then of course, Pyrrhus with his what was that? Hang on, I need to look up his quotes because he has a funny one. Yeah, like if we are victorious in one more battle with the Romans, we shall be utterly ruined. Like, Pyrrhus, I think you need to get better at fighting. Like you're it's just funny that his whole strategy was basically keep losing until we what's that? It was something from the someone made a joke of the Imperial Guardsmen is we will drown them in a river of our blood. It's like, yep, we will just keep losing until we lose harder than them and kill them with our like we will bury them in a mountain of our own corpses because somehow that's better than actually winning. And that was basically Pyrrhus's whole strategy. he Yeah, I'm not the most well read on Roman history, but I am aware of some of the funny stuff. Like, oh, what was the Cabbage Emperor? Diocletian. That was the one. I love that you can just type Cabbage Emperor into Google and it knows exactly who you're talking about. And yeah, if you don't know, he's the guy that was yeah, if you what was I saying? Yeah, Diocletian was the guy who basically showed up, became emperor. No, I think he was already emperor, or maybe not. And then he was elected dictator because Rome was in such an absolute abhorrent state that they needed someone with absolute power to fix it. He fixed it and like, all right, done with being a dictator. I'm going off to my farm. And then Rome fell apart. He got called in when he was like 80 or something. And he said, all right, fuck it, fine. I'll come back. One more job and then I'm done. Came back, wiped out all of the problems, and fixed Rome within like a year or two, and then went right back to his cabbages. And I think one of his quotes was when someone asked, hey, can you come back and fix things again? He said, what was it? If you saw the cabbages I was growing, you would not ask this of me. It's like, no, you don't understand. Farming is based, and I will continue to farm, and you cannot stop me. Fix it yourself, you heathens. It's like you can't expect me to come in and solve all of your stupid problems. He and oh, what's and him and Valentinian the First are my favorites. Valentinian the First was the guy who got so enraged by the Romans, uh, that he like the Romans or not Romans, Germans. The Germans were basically just being dicks in their what's the word? death in here. Yeah, I can't remember what the exact details of it were, but when he was talking to the Romans, or I keep saying that, the Germans, they were basically saying, like, oh yeah, we totally have a peace deal. However, you building your forts to defend yourself from us kind of violates the peace deal, so we don't, so, it's not really our fault if we then attack you over it. And just generally being pains in the ass to him. And he got so unbelievably pissed off at the Germans that he just had it, like, he had an aneurysm and died from just the pure bullshit that they were, like, just the aggravation that they were causing. So yeah, Valentinian the First and Diocletian are the best emperors. Cabbage guy and aneurysm guy. It's just hilarious. Well, no, the best one was, oh, who what was his name? Aurelian. Aurelian was the most based human being in all of history. Yes, he died of cringe. He literally died of cringe from the Germans. But yeah, Aurelian was the guy who, I mean, when your title is Restorer of the World, that is the greatest. Like, you know that you've done something right. Anyways, I need to make another weapon now. I've still got another hour. Anyways, weapons I've already made. I've already made just a normal, like, arming sword. Long sword. I think I made a. Did I make a Zweihander? I made a Flamberg for sure. No, no more shields, please. Shields are difficult trying to get them at the right curve and all that. I need a weapon. Um, what else have I made? I made a Warhammer. I've made a mace. I've made a flanged mace and just the ball with spikes. I think I've already made a bearded axe. I've made it. Hang on. I've kind of made a Dane axe. I think. I think this is a Dane axe. No, this isn't a Dane axe. This is just normal battle axe. Um, I think if there's anything else. I think there was. And you better not say a bill hook. I've already tried to make a bill hook. It is the hardest weapon to make ever. Hmm. Hmm. Executioner sword is easy. That's that. I could probably do that. Hang on, I just need to see how big it is. Okay, so blade length was about 35 inches. So that's 3 feet, right? Thirty-six inches is 2 feet, 3 feet. Yes. Okay. Don't know why I had to think about that so long, but don't judge me. Don't go there. So, that's not right. Does it taper at all? Kind of rounded at the tip, but it doesn't taper. Okay. What if I... That's a bit better. Yeah, like they're a little bit rounded generally, but not much. Maybe... Okay, I think I know what I'm doing. Yeah, that looks about good. Hmm. The way that the hilt is done is slightly... Not hilt, grip. No. Why is this... Hang on. Wait, what? No, why is that? Oh god. Has this been wrong the whole time? One, two, three, four. Oh shit. Are all of them like this? Oh god, they're all like this. Fuck. Shit. Okay, well that's fixed now at least. Okay, yeah, that's more the way the grip is. Yeah, even the grip is chunky. It's got a bigger... Hang on, I need to make the pommel bigger. If you go a sword that massive and heavy, you're kind of going to need a little bit of offset at the bottom. Perfect. All right. No, wait. I don't like the... What if I... There we go, that's better. Okay, got an Executioner's Sword now. Texturing I will kind of do in my own time because it's really not the most interesting thing to watch by a long shot. Did I make a falchion? I might have already, hang on. Let me just check my files. Wait, where is it? No, I'm sure. I, I am certain. I made a messer. Did I put it in a different folder? Yes, I put it in a different... Hang on. There, I have this. It's... I'm not sure how different that is from a falchion. Hang on. Hmm. It's more or less the same sword. Oh, fuck, what is that? I recognize the name. What are... Oh, that's just a hand cannon. Not really a hand cannon, but arm cannon, more like. Hmm. I think that's a little too late. The period I'm setting this in is, I'm going to say... So the medieval period is from the 5th to 15th century. Um, and yes, the... How is it spelled? Arquebuses were kind of did appear at the in the 15th century, I think it said. Yeah, during the 15th century. So technically, yes, it would exist there. Oh god, do not hang on. All right, what are you going to suggest? If you suggest the what is it? How's it pronounced? The Machayevsky. Oh, crossbow. Did I make a crossbow? Right. Okay. What I was gonna think you were gonna suggest was the Mat. Again, I have trouble pronouncing it, even though I do know the correct way to pronounce it. The Machievsky Falchion. Hang on. I did start making this model ages ago, but I never finished it because it was... Or Machiovsky, I think it's pronounced. I'll tell you one thing. It's not pronounced the way it looks like it is. Okay, well, that looks like shit. This is as far as I got in it. It's, where is its actual... Ah, well, I'm just going to delete that whole thing because it adds a bunch of problems. To match, uh, it's spelled... Hang on, I closed that tab for a moment. It's, Polish, I believe. Actually, I don't know if it's a Polish weapon. It's... Yes, that is how that's spelled. No, Maciejowski, I think. Yeah, it's I think it's called that because it appeared in a Bible of that name or manuscript. And like I don't think it has a proper name for that weapon. It's just some type of falchion, but that is kind of its first like where it's recognized from. Is that... Yes, that is Polish, right? Because okay, here's a weird thing that I know for some reason. Um if it's pronounced when it's got ski at the end of the name, it's probably either Polish or Ukrainian. However, if it's spelled SKI, it's Polish, and if it's SKY, it's Ukrainian. I think I did make some. Okay, see, this is a problem I knew I was going to have by asking you about weapons, is I've already made a whole bunch of these weapons ages ago. Before I even started this project. So like these were not intended to be like I didn't even know what I was making these for. Like these two, like most of these weapons that are here, I just made because I was bored at some point. And I did make some goblinish weapons. Hang on. Um, okay, the man catcher is a good one. Yeah, this is the goblin mace I made. It's slightly bigger than I intended it to be. Like that's a little bit of a ridiculous one. Here's the flanged mace that you might remember from my animation. It's got a few more blades on it than it should, but I changed that later. Whereas, yeah, that's a little bit of an absurd looking weapon. Like that's Witch King sized mace. Okay, but okay, the man catcher is a good one. Such a weird weapon. Very useful though. I think there was a castle where if I'm remembering the story correctly, the lord of the castle was off at war. And his wife and just some of the servants stayed behind in the castle, maybe a couple, standard small militia of soldiers to just guard it. And while he was away at war, one of his enemies decided, haha, this dumb bastard's not at his castle. Only his wife and a few servants are there. I'm gonna go raid it. And then I have his castle and I have his wife, so I can get a massive ransom from him and all that shit. Um, Castle was better defended than he was anticipating. And by that, I mean it was just a really defensible location. So, very hard to get access to in the first place. But then he had the other problem of everyone in the castle was armed with man catchers. So they just kept like getting soldiers by the neck, shoving them off their ladders, having these tools specifically made for pushing ladders off the thing. And like, listen, this lord's wife and some servants were able to hold off the entire army that was trying to siege the castle with just man catchers for long enough that I guess one of them was able to sneak out the back and get reinforcements to come save them. So yeah, like this is an absurdly like as weird as it is to say, overpowered weapon. Very, very useful. I've noticed that a major problem I have is I feel like I know a lot of things that happened in medieval times, but I can't remember the specifics of them. So like I can't say, oh, this castle was sieged and this happened and all this. It's like I remember that it happened. I just don't remember who it was that it happened to and what castle and all of the important details basically. I just remember the story. Oh, but on that note, there's a thing. I'm not making the siege Beyblade. I refuse. It's like that's almost as bad as the skeleton rope. It's not quite as bad, but it's close, and I will not take part in Siege Beyblade. Oh, anyways, what I was gonna say is I have discovered, much to my dislike of it, a reason to try and make a horse. Because No, I do not want to. It is a siege Beyblade is an abomination. Anyways, the horse thing. So I've discovered a reason to make a horse, even though I really don't want to make a horse because it's going to be a pain in the ass. That's for sure. Um, but anyways, the thing is, I've decided something that I kind of want to make is use my knowledge or my recollection of weird stories, and I kind of want to make like almost a. I don't know if it would be YouTube Shorts. It could be that'd be the best format for it probably, even though I hate shorts, but you can both the format and the clothing. Um, but the thing is, it would work well for that. Essentially, the reason is because I was thinking it would be kind of neat to make some videos that are like, here's just a short animated story of a historical event or something in history that is kind of funny. And the one that I would want the horses for was there was this one king. This guy, um, like the most hilarious death in history was a king of Bohemia who, hang on. Oh wait, hang on, blind king, King John of Bohemia. I bet that's who it is. Give me his death. Yes, this is exactly the guy. I want to make a video about, like, a short video about John of Bohemia. All I know is Salmonella, um, Academy. But yeah, like, I want to do sort of like in this style, um, little short animated history, like, things. And the first one needs to be John of Bohemia because his death is the funniest thing in history. So he was going blind for I think ages. Like he lost his eyesight at 39 or 40 it seems in 1336, so well within the medieval period, while crusading in Lithuania. So while he was off on crusade, he just went full blind. um and this didn't deter him in the slightest. And in one of the battles, his last battle, he was kind of losing horribly. And his guards there were like, "Hey, shit's kind of fucked up, man. Like we're losing this battle hard. Like we should probably retreat." And keep in mind, the king, who is like completely blind at this point, just says, what, like, essentially, what, retreat like cowards? No, the battle's just getting good. Draws his sword and says, tie, like, I may not be able to see. It's like the, oh, the Django Unchained thing. It's like, I can't see, but the horse can see. So tie my horse's reins to your guys' horses and into, like, a full horse chariot and lead me into battle. Or I think it was the exact words were, lead me to where the sounds of battle are loudest. So so his guards there for some reason just like giving him the Chad yes response, tied his reins to their horses, drove him into battle, sword raised, completely blind, and to literally no one's surprise, died. He just died in that battle, but like in the most spectacular way possible. It's like that was one of those things I read as like, I need to make a video on this. This is the greatest thing ever. I can't not make something about this, about that. That is so funny. So yeah, so that is why I need to make horses. Because there is just infinite meme potential and video potential with that. Yeah, like I listen, like what an absolute Chad, but also I was a really bad move. Didn't go well for him. Okay, hang on. Wikipedia actually has a quote. Um, okay, so he said, Sirs, ye are my men, my companions and friends in this journey. I require you bring me so far forward that I may strike one stroke with my sword. Um, he said they would do as he commanded, and I guess just did that. Oh wait, no, here's the direct line here. Far be it that the king of Bohemia should run away. Instead, take me to the place where the noise of battle is the loudest. The Lord will be with us, nothing to fear, just take good care of my son. Just like, so basically, like, he, he just said, retreat? I don't know the meaning of the word. I have God on my side. Take me to war. And his knights, being the absolute, like, the best bros in history, said, absolutely, my lord. And so it was. Why is this not correct in this slide? What is happening? I'm lining up with the wrong line, is what's happening. So yeah, that is definitely to be the first video I make on such a concept. Because that is such a good starter. But as I mentioned, the biggest problem with that story is it requires horses. So I need to model horses, and I really don't want to model horses. It sounds like a pain in the ass. Yeah, like I think also it would just be a good idea to make something like that because like there's lots of channels that do like World War II history or World War One history or just like any history from the World Wars. Like that's fairly common. And honestly, I don't really find those wars too in like, you know, they're interesting, but they're not really my thing. I love medieval history. So it's like I feel like there's a bit of a dearth of medieval content, especially talking about the goofy stuff. Like it was a weird time and a funny time. Hang on. You know, I'm not going to do this now because it would be a bit of a problem. But what you're saying about making his motions look jumpy, like stop motion, theoretically, the software I'm using for this is VC Face. If I can, if I just lower the frame rate enough, it might do the thing. Like, it might look the way you'd want it to. I might try that after the stream. Oops. Oh, God, what have I done? I think if there's another thing, because... Oh, wait, hang on. I'm just looking up unusual deaths on Wikipedia, and the name Basil the First caught my eye. He's a Byzantine emperor, and I recognize that name. I can't remember why, though. The Byzantine emperor's belt was entangled between antlers of a deer during a hunt, and the animal subsequently dragged him for 16 miles through the woods. Because of this accident, Basil contracted fever and he died shortly afterwards. Jesus. Getting dragged 16 miles by a deer. What are some of these other ones? Hang on, I just remembered one. When was this built? Come on, tell me when it was built. Damn you. From the 8th century. Okay, fantastic. It's in the right time period. Okay. I need to make a video on Mont Saint Michael. I'm sure you're aware of it, Toasty. Like, I think we've brought it up on the server a couple times. The one where some bishop was contacted by the angel Michael in his dreams and told to build a church, and he said, "Fuck off." I mean, first of all, there is nothing funnier to me in that whole story than the idea of a bishop. Like, hey, you have Blender, model Lord of the Rings orc weapons. Start doing the Lord's work. Oh, yeah, well, that's the thing, too. But yeah, I'm just going to continue the little story here because it's just funny to me. Um, Again, it's just such a hilarious idea of a medieval bishop is visited in his dreams by the angel Michael and told to build a church. And then he just looks at the angel and says, "Fuck off, I'm not doing that," and then goes back to sleep. Like, just like, I mean, I'd have to animate Michael just like, what? Like, what do you mean no? I'm literally I am like literally God's top guy, and you tell me no, I'm not building this cathedral. It's like, all right, maybe he's just being an idiot. I'll come back tomorrow, and he comes back tomorrow night and says, "Hey, look, I know you were probably tired and weren't really thinking clearly, but it is me, Michael, the Michael. How about you build that cathedral I want?" And then the bishop once again said, "Fuck off," and went back to sleep. So Michael's like, all right, I'll come back. I'll let you sleep. This is your last good night of sleeping before I ruin your whole career. And I'll be back tomorrow. And so he did come back tomorrow and decided, okay, I'm done with this little shit. Poked him in the head and like burned a hole into his skull with just his finger and said, "You gonna make that cathedral now, bitch?" And yeah, it turns out apparently that was the thing that made him realize, oh shit, right, this is the Michael, the guy who smited Satan from heaven and will smite him once more on Judgment Day permanently, and I've just kind of pissed him off 2 days in a row. Yeah, this was not a good move. Okay, yeah, I'll build you the cathedral. Just calm down. Like, don't stop burning a hole in my face. And so he built Mont St. Michael. And everything was good. And his skull is a reliquary. And it has a hole in it, which is kind of weird. Kind of strange. It's one of those things that's like, you know, I don't know, there's a lot of things of like, I don't necessarily, not necessarily religious, but there are some weird things like that of like, the skull of the guy does actually have a hole in it. Huh. That's interesting. So yeah, it's but yeah, just that is another one that oh god, I just realized that would be, I wouldn't need to make a horse for that one. But I would have to make wings for Michael. I don't want to make wings either. Why do all of these involve just the most complex things to model? Wings actually wouldn't be that hard. It would mostly be texturing that would be the real pain in the ass. Um, oh god. No, wait, that's a different guy. Okay, this couldn't really make a video because it's too short. Yeah, Mont St. Michael is awesome looking. You could, but come on, it's Michael. He's got to have awesome wings. Sorry, this is just another one that was kind of funny. Pope Adrian the Fourth, I want to say that's what I think IV is for. The only Englishman to serve as Pope reportedly died after choking on a fly while drinking spring water. All right, man. Let's see. Okay, okay, I haven't even read this one, but I can already tell this is one that needs to be done. Martin of Aragon. The Aragonese king died from a combination of indigestion and uncontrollable laughter. Like, that's a good start. So, according to legend, Martin was suffering from indigestion caused by eating an entire goose. That'll do it. Um, when his favorite jester, Bora, entered the king's bedroom, when Martin asked Bora where he had been, the jester replied, "Out of the next vineyard, where I saw a young deer hanging by his tail from a tree," as if someone had so punished him for stealing figs. apparent and the joke caused the king to die from laughter. It's not even a good joke. I I imagine I don't know, that almost seems like one of those ones where like it just took him so off guard that it's like, look, man, I'm really I'm really in a bad way right now. Like I feel like shit. What are you doing? And then he just or just makes it or the jester just makes an offhanded joke and then the guy laughs his ass off and dies. I wonder what happened to the jester. Can you imagine being a jester and making your king laugh and you're just like, oh, you know, I'm happy. The king's laughing. He liked my joke. And, maybe this will make him feel better from, his indigestion that he's having a problem with. He's dead. Oh, fuck, he's dead. Oh my god. I'm the last person to see the king, and he just fucking died. Like, oh god, that would be like, oh my god, what the hell do I do now? Let's see. Find page Jester. Yeah, so it seems like it doesn't necessarily, it says like despite lacking any historical evidence to say that this is how he died, it is kind of the only thing written down about his death, so we kind of just have to take it at face value. There's another guy that died of, was this it? Oh, who was it? Oh, this guy. Yes, Zeuxis. This is the funniest thing ever. Um, this is a great one. It's a little too like this is like BC era, so this is a Greek painter, so like way too ahead of time to be in my little medieval history stuff. But this one's fantastic. Um, so so according according to the legend, uh, there was a old woman. He's a famous painter, and an old woman commissioned him to paint a portrait of her as Aphrodite, and apparently he agreed to do this, looked at the picture at the thing he had painted, and then just laughed himself to death at it. Of just like, yeah, this old woman wanted me to paint her, like literally paint Aphrodite as her, as an old woman, and just laughed his ass off at the result so hard that it killed him. Which is fantastic too. It's like, I mean, very disrespectful way to die of like, I'm gonna go out um just roasting this woman who probably paid for my services. And yeah, I'm just gonna laugh at her until I die. This man catcher is proving really hard to make. It is not easy making circles in like this. I think if there was any more that I'm aware of. Does this even fit around his neck now? Yeah, I'd say so. That works good. I hate that. Okay, that's the worst one. Dying from laughing at your own joke. Uh, Look, I don't care about his stoic beliefs. Tell me of his goofy death. It's also funny because he apparently told, just what I'm seeing here is, saw a donkey eating figs and told a slave to give the donkey some wine to wash it down with, and then just started laughing. And again, like it's so funny thinking of how awkward it is for the people involved of just like, all right, yeah, okay, good joke, and then he just keeps laughing, and then he just dies. It's like, holy shit! Like, what do I do now? My like my boss just died laughing at his own joke. Literally, what do I do now? Like, do I leave? Like, do I report this? Am I gonna get arrested for people thinking I killed him? Like, what do I do with this? Yeah, close enough there. Um, yeah, like that. It's just. Dude, sorry, I have to pause my storytelling every time I start counting. Yeah, like I don't know. There's just so much stuff in history like that is just. I don't know. Like I feel like some. Listen, there's not a lot of channels that I'm aware of that talk about medieval history that much, and at least not the funny parts. So it would be good to have some. Oh my god. I knew I had heard of this somewhere. Okay, this is a little spoiler for the future. Um a video I want to make uh a long ways off from now. Um is kind of going to incorporate some of this, so this is actually really funny. I didn't realize that this I had actually based this off of something. I must have read it and then forgot that I had read it. Edmund Ironside. Um, Apparently, the English king was stabbed whilst on a toilet by an assassin hiding underneath, which is basically the thing that I was going to have in a video was a jester character who has a real bad habit of kind of unintentionally getting involved in a lot of issues of like people dying or causing controversies that make everyone want to kill the jester. And one of the parts would be, yeah, I once told a story, or made up a story about, uh, a comedy tale of an assassin trying to kill someone through their toilet. And funny story, and then the jester's lord actually does die from some assassin sneaking up through the toilet and stabbing him. Like, ooh, that kind of looks like I inspired this assassination. I need to get the fuck out of here. So yeah, I didn't realize that had actually happened. I completely forgot about that. uh this guy who died after, oh yeah, the bird dropping a tortoise on his head. the funny thing about that story is supposedly he had gotten like a prophecy or something of how he was gonna die, and the prophecy said 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that he would die from something falling on his head. So he thought, I'll beat this prophecy by going outside. Nothing's gonna fall on my head and kill me from outside. And then a fucking bird drops a tortoise on his head and kills him. Well, very classic, can't avoid the prophecy story. Anyways, hang on. Now I'm just spending all this time looking at goofy deaths in history. Oh god, yes, and I forgot about that. The Erfurt latrine disaster. I think there's a Count Dankula video on that, where like 50 noblemen died in a cesspit. Like they fell through a floor, and dozens and dozens of noblemen died in a pool of shit. And it's like, Jesus Christ, that's bad for morale, I guess. Like, yeah, that's yeah, all of our nobles are dead in a hole full of feces. Where do we go from here with this? Like, I don't think is anywhere to go. I think we just bury them and pretend that didn't happen. You know what the problem with some of these is? Like, some of them are funny, but they're not really stories. Like, they don't really lead anywhere. Um, oh, this is a fun one. Charles II of Navarre, I assume that's pronounced. Navarre? I don't know. Um, Known as Charles the Bad, that's probably wasn't a very good ruler. Um, Suffering from illness in old age, was ordered by his physician to be tightly sewn into a linen sheet soaked in distilled spirits. I don't know what the fuck that like what was that supposed to do? Um and then the highly flammable sheet accidentally caught fire and he died of his injuries later. Like, good job. I always think like how many everyone involved in this must have been executed afterwards. It's like you put our king, you sewed him into a sack, soaked it in flammable materials, and then he just burst into flame. Like, yeah, we're executing you, man. You're an idiot. Hmm. Renaissance. I don't know when that considered. Oh, okay, the 1400s, that still technically counts. Oh, the victims of the 1518 dancing plague, of course. Hmm. Like, some of these are. Like, it can't all just be about here's all the ways that people died in history. It just needs to be funny or strange events in the medieval times that I'm kind of looking for. Oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. Yeah, that's. It's like, oh, that's unfortunate. Is that not correct? Is that correct? No, that is not correct. Why? God damn you. That's too many teeth. That just looks absurd. There we go. That's better. Yeah, so I guess if Toasty, if you or uh tried to tear a tree in half but got his hand stuck in. Oh my god, you okay, first, why was he trying to tear a tree in half? Oh my god, that is just stupid. Yo. Why is this not like why is this what is incorrect here? The Olympics were just wild before, modern times. It's just bizarre. I mean, first of all, just how you had to do all of the events naked because Greeks, obviously. Like there's not really anything else to say other than like why did they do that? Like because the Greeks, like I don't know, they were strange people. Probably still are. I don't actually know. Why hang on. This is starting to bug me now. Why is this incorrect? What is wrong with this? Why like this should line up. Shouldn't it line up better than this? Like this should be symmetrical. Okay, that guy just had like a just so some of these is like he died from I like I don't know, man. He just went a bit schizo one day and decided to jump into a into a volcano. No one really knows what the hell was going on there, but we just I mean we laughed. Don't get us wrong. We totally laughed at it. But yeah, no one really we have no idea what the hell he was doing. Okay, so never mind. Everyone knew exactly what he was doing. They just couldn't comprehend why. It's just like I don't know. He just kind of. I mean, it's like really. What is there to say about that if anyone just comes along and asks? It's like, look, I have no idea, man. He kind of had a like psychotic episode and jumped into a active volcano. Like we have no idea why he thought this, but he sure was committed to the bit. And that, you gotta respect it. Like, oh, what a absolutely deranged. Oh my god, I'm at the end of the stream. What the hell? When did that happen? Okay. Man Catcher is not quite finished. Like it's mostly finished. I do need to get the little flaps on it, but that'll I'll have to do that another time. Like I've made basically got it. It's spiky and catchy and all that stuff. Like that actually looks pretty good. I like that. That was a good suggestion. Um, I'm almost thinking I need to model angel wings now. Oh no. All right, let's hear it. Yeah, like I'm thinking I need to make angel wings because like I've already kind of modeled a bed, a medieval bed, so it wouldn't be that hard to make just a character for the bishop and basically make the story of Mont Saint Michael and Michael just being very perplexed and irritated by the bishop, which I think is the funniest part of it. Like, just how like, imagine how, like, I know I've kind of already said it, but like, imagine how confused you would be if you were just an angel sent down by God to give instructions to this bishop, like a holy man who is like, all right, if anyone's gonna believe what I have to say, it's this guy. And then he just does not care for what you have to say. It's like, what? What? Zeno of Citium. Okay, I know that name. The Greek philosopher, after leaving the school, tripped and fell, breaking his toe. Through clenched teeth, he struck the ground and pronounced, I come, I come. Why do thou call for me? And then he died. Okay. Is that not basically, oh, what's his name? Kazuma dying in Konosuba? Of just like thinking that he's about to get isekai'd and struck by a truck and just dies of shock because he thinks he's going to die. Like that same thing. Exact same thing for him. It's just like, oh god, I'm dying, and then just dies. But the Greek, why did all of the Greek philosophers die in such absurd ways? I don't I don't understand it. It's still funny though. See, the alternative to that is he fell, broke his toe, thought he was dying, and then through sheer embarrassment at the situation just decided, fuck it, guess I'm dying then, and just held his breath until he died. Because it's like, oh god, everyone's looking at me, everyone's thinking I'm a complete idiot. Well, time to die. And then just did. It's like, alright, man. I mean, with all of this, it's just like, alright, man, you do you. If we can't really stop you from whatever the hell is happening there, so I guess good luck with that. Anyways, what was I doing? Did I do it? I did not do it. I remember what I was doing now. Okay, so all of these I'll finish some other time. I'll make the proper textures and get the little hingy, if I feel like the hingy bits. I haven't decided yet. But anyways, that's going to be it for this stream. That was actually quite fun and relaxing, not having to worry too much, considering I'll have to go to Victoria. God, what a stupid way for Attila the Hun of all people to die. Yeah, that's going to be it for the stream, so I will say, just as a reminder, I'm going back to, I have to go to Victoria sometime in the next week or so it will be going back to, just videos being uploaded on the channel instead of streams for probably the next 2 weeks at the least. Also, thank you for dropping by, Toasty. Have a good sleep. Dream of Michael burning a hole in your skull. And then make an awesome cathedral. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please press all the buttons, follow me in all the places, and I'll hope to see you next time. But until then, good night. Bye. And yeah, next time will probably be in like 2 weeks, so yeah. Yes, please let me know. Thank you. Alright, bye. Later. See ya.